Welcome back to All Things ETH. My name is Aaron, and on this channel we talk about all things Ethereum. We talk about projects, NFTs, play to earn, DeFi, and price. And today, guys, I want to talk about the Arbitrum, the STIP rewards that are being dropped on all kinds of protocols right now. Anybody in the Arbitrum protocol ecosystem that made a grant proposal and got it is starting to distribute their Arbitrum rewards. So I want to get into some of the things I'm farming currently, and the top of my list, guys, is Silo Finance. Silo is my favorite by far lending program. If you aren't familiar with my personal strategy in the crypto space, my personal strategy is to buy as much Ethereum as possible, borrow against it to farm either some sort of rewards, whether it be wrap-staked ETH, getting that 4 to 5% in rewards back, and then throwing it into something like Silo Finance to then borrow either more stables to farm those stables out in some sort of protocol where I'm getting some rewards back. Maybe it's an LP pool that's got high APRs, but something stable is stable to make sure that I'm not making any impermanent loss there. Or it's in something like this where you're farming some sort of reward. So in this, I'm going to be putting in fact, I've got a lot of different assets in the Silo Finance ecosystem, and I'm putting them in. So let's get in on what these APRs are and how to optimize these. I've got some ARB and ETH in the ARB silo, guys. I've got some ETH in the wrap-sticked ETH silo. I've got some ETH in the DPX silo as well. And each of these are going to have different APRs. So let's go back out to the market tab. Let's see if if I rearrange these better, I could possibly get some better rewards. Right now, we're collecting ARB rewards on all of these, and also a little bit of APR in the asset that you're lending. So if you hover over any one of these, you're going to get the assets, your total APRs, right? Silo is unique in the fact that each one of these is siloed, meaning that each market is not correlated, or it's not sharing any assets with other vaults. So if there was to be any sort of exploit, guys, the hacker would have to exploit every single silo. So it does give you a little bit more protection, and that's why I use Silo primarily. They are on the Arbitrum network as well as the Ethereum network. We're talking about the Arbitrum ecosystem because that's where the ARB tokens are being dropped right now. So again, I am in the Arbitrum silo here. I've got some ETH and I've got some Arbitrum tokens. Now the APR on the Arbitrum deposit is only 4.5%. That's not terrible, obviously. I'm getting 0.1 back in just the borrow rewards APR, but then on top of it, I'm getting ARB rewards APR of 4.4%, which does accumulate up here. On the Ethereum side, I'm making 7%. That's 0.6% made back in Ethereum, and then 6.5% rewards APR in Arbitrum tokens. Now, if I was lending on the USDC side, I'd also make 18%. Now, I do have to take into account this 6.5% borrow APR, which is actually costing me 6.5% in USDC for all of the tokens that I am borrowing. But these APRs are outweighing my deposit. So if you wanted to, you could actually sort of loop this. Now, I love to see this, guys, 21% ETH APR, and 20% of that is in ARB tokens. But gosh, man, that is incredible APRs on deposits in this, and it far outweighs the 3.6% I am having to pay out in USDC on this. Now, looking at the DPX silo, I'm only making 3.8% here, and I'm borrowing at a rate of 10%. So I do think cycling around on this might be helpful. Maybe I pay off the debt that I have in the DPX silo and move my ETH up to maybe the RETH APR and get 22% up there and borrow against that and only have to pay 4.7%. That would be a great rotation to do. Looking at other APRs, if you want to, you can actually click the deposit APR and it'll cycle the best ones to the top. So if you hit this deposit button, it'll rotate the top APRs to the top of the list here. And it does depend on which asset you want to deposit. It's going to give you the highest one depending on which asset that you click on. So if I hit deposit on the asset itself, it's going to give me Pendle right now is giving me 65% in, and a lot of that is going to be in ARB tokens, which is pretty impressive. I do think it's because this is a new silo and they're just trying to get this started that you're going to see some higher APRs in these ARB specific silos. Pendle being the newest addition to silo finance on Arbitrum, also 60% on USDC, which is insane, guys. Now these could change pretty quickly, guys, because they are new vaults. So do be careful. They do change depending on how much TVL is in each one of these. This is something that's very specific to silos, so these do change. So check those out. Be sure you're checking back on the daily on these. Now, this is just one of the applications that has gotten some ARB rewards and is starting to distribute. Another one you might want to look at is Radiant Finance. Now, Radiant is doing a completely different strategy. Now, both Radiant and Silo are lending and borrow apps. Radiant has a very different incentive program. Now, what they're doing is giving a airdrop of Arbitrum tokens. The Arbitrum rewards are not showing up in these APRs down here because they all pay out in Radiant tokens. Now, what Radiant is doing is actually giving you incentives via airdrop on new lockers of DLP. And if you understand Radiant and DLP, I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but if you set up new DLP, 6 to 12 month DLP locks, it's going to put you in the running for this Arbitrum airdrop, which is very different, obviously, than farming rewards in Silo. So those are two places that you can check out the airdrop. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about the GMD ecosystem, as I'm very entrenched in that ecosystem. They're just about to drop new GMX V2 vaults. Now, if you're familiar with GMD, you have APRs on their single-sided GMX vaults. That's USDC, ETH, BTC, and USDT. Now, these are delta neutral vaults based on single assets, but it all goes back into GLP, which is GMX's LP. So let's go to GMX right now and actually check on their LPs. So GLP has a 16% APR right now. That will translate over to GMD, but these new GND vaults are actually incentivized by ARB tokens as well. So this APR is 20% plus a 5.48% in ARB tokens. So now these are going to be vaults in GMD soon, dropping within the next couple of weeks, guys. So do look out for that. They are in the audit phase, and I do think it's going to start with this the ETH to USDC. So there's going to be two vaults, one ETH single-sided delta neutral and one USDC single-sided delta neutral, making about 16% right now, 8% in base APR, which is just based on the LP there in GMX. And the other 8% of the APR is going to be in ARB, which is a great incentive, especially if we see this the GMX V2 ETH vault get a higher percentage because of volatility in the market. So look out for that, guys. That will be launching on GMX and then following that, obviously, with GMD very soon after. And then again, on top of that, guys, I got to throw this out here last minute. If you're hanging on, we will be at Gas. Now, I am a team member at Gas, so take this with a grain of salt. I got to be transparent about that. We will be setting up a new market based on GMD, GMX V2 vaults very soon after they launch. Now, again, they're in the audit phase at GMD. Once they get through the audit phase on GMD, our dev team will be copying, pasting basically the code from our GMD vaults and creating new ones based on the GMX V2 vaults. And you will be able to possibly loop that APR, which could be pretty awesome. Now, I do want to talk about quick, supply APR is super high right now on a couple of these vaults, so do check these out. Infinity right now on supply APR on the GMD BTC vault, and this is not supplying GMD BTC, this is actually supplying BTC itself, or wrapped BTC that is on Arbitrum, and then 63% in ETH, guys, and this pays out in our gas token. So do know that that's part of the equation there. 3% on USDT and 13% on USDC. So check those out for sure. Some of those APRs are pretty insane right now. Infinity is obviously a misnomer. If you add to that, it will change the APR. And in fact, all of these will, the APRs will change a little bit depending on what size that you deposit. But do expect that with a couple $1,000 deposit in ETH, like if you put 1 ETH into this GMD ETH wallets, you will expect to see at least 60% in return on the APR here. So do check that out over at gastprotocol.com/market. With that, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is All Things ETH. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at All Things ETH. You can message me on Telegram at All Things ETH, and be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next one, and God bless.